Oh, the worst character BFDI, eh? What the hell? Why is there so many? So recently there's been a trend going around trying to figure out who's definitively the worst BFDI character. OCS started the trend with their video on Eggy, then just a few weeks later Lech Gang made their video on Loser. Just recently Amon88 made their video about Winner, and that video is the one that made me catch on to this trend. It's got me thinking, who is actually the worst BFDI character? With all these different videos out there, surely there's gotta be one true and right answer. That's the premise of this video, to find out once and for all who really is the worst BFDI character. To do that, I want to go over some of the characters I usually see being brought up the most as being the worst character to try to find out who it really is. First, we'll start with...
Eggy's out with 2,404 votes. One last sentence, Eggy.
I will finally give the answer to if I came first or the chicken. So basically...
Oh, you used your one sentence up. Bye, Eggy.
Eggy is one of the characters I see most when it comes to who the worst BFDI character is. And whenever I see her name being brought up, I don't really see any Eggy defenders. Case in point, in BFB13's popularity poll, Eggy got dead last, with only 70 votes out of a possible 34,000. That means Eggy only got 0.2% of the total votes. This goes to show how unpopular Eggy really is. One of the main reasons I see being brought up on why Eggy is so bad is that Eggy's a nothing character. And by that I mean how she doesn't do much and doesn't really have much of a personality. And the second reason I see being brought up is that she's a mean character. So let's go over these 2 points to see how valid they really are. First is how Eggy's a nothing character, and with that I've got to disagree. The main reason I think people think she's a nothing character is just because she doesn't have much screen time. Between both pre-split BFB and TPOT, Eggy only has about 23 minutes of screen time, and that includes her just being in the background. While 23 minutes is not a lot, we are able to get a decent idea on who Eggy truly is. Unfortunately for Eggy, we don't see much of her during BFB's pre-split, but from the little we do see, we could tell that she is slightly arrogant with a snarky attitude. Where I think Eggy truly shines is in TPOT. Her snarky attitude is a bit more prominent while still not being overly mean. We can also see a few moments where Eggy is a bit more soft-boiled, like in TPOT 2 where she recovers Teardrop and when she apologizes to Basketball after losing the challenge. I also think Eggy's run in TPOT 22 through 24 has been really good. It encapsulates what Eggy's character is all about, a snarky attitude that's not afraid to speak her mind. At this point, after rewatching all of BFB and TPOT for this video and keeping a closer eye on Eggy, I wouldn't even mind an Eggy rejoin, though the chances of that are slim to none. The next point that I see being brought up a lot is how Eggy's a mean character, and as I kind of brought up earlier, I agree. But I think it's a positive and not a negative. I think a show needs at least a few mean characters, and I think if they gave Eggy a bit more spotlight during TPOT, I think she could have had a very similar trajectory to Lollipop. Lollipop was hated for most if not all of pre-split, but was developed more during post-split and made it all the way to the final 5. But if it's not Eggy, then who is it? Oh hey, is that...
Rock, paper, scissors! Dodeka, dang it. Don't tell me you played the Hekatanai Kosahi droid.
Foldy is an even worse situation than Eggy when it comes to screen time, only having around 19 minutes of screen time between both BFB and TPOT, which doesn't help the main argument as to why Foldy's a worse character, which is she doesn't do anything and is a boring character. And if you're just looking at BFB, I can honestly agree with this opinion. Foldy barely has anything to do, and the only thing going for her is her relationship with Stapy to some extent Marker, and her hatred for Lai and Ions, which mind you is not very well explored. This continues in the beginning of TPOT where she doesn't have much to do, which leads to her early elimination in episode 3. At this point, Foldy has been a perfectly affable character, mostly just being a nice personality but with not much going on, though I think her true potential shines during TPOT 22 and 23. I think in TPOT 22 and 23, Foldy is able to actually have screen time and use it well. She's able to show off more depth to her personality than just being the nice one. We see her getting a bit snippy at Pi after annoying her, and we could also see her determination and desperation to rejoin the competition. Also finally get to see the reunion of Foldy and Stapy after 8 long years, and because of that reunion, a newfound hatred for Eggy. With just these 2 episodes, Foldy became someone who I began to like and now I'm even rooting for another chance at the competition. So even though Foldy doesn't have much ado for much of the show, I think the potential she shows in TPOT 22 and 23 and the fact that she doesn't have anything actively wrong or bad about her character, it's hard to say that Foldy is the worst character in BFDI. So who should I talk about next?
Loser! Loser! Loser!
Huh? What is that?
Loser! 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 Loser!
Oh, okay. Now, Loser is actually the first character I'm talking about that actually has a video about them as to why they are the worst character, and that video is made by LechGang. And since Loser already has a video on them, I want to go over the points LechGang already made about Loser, which are: 1. Loser deteriorates the other characters around them, and LechGang actually made 2 points here, but I feel like I could generalize it into 1. 2. The writers tell you how you should feel about Loser. And also one more thing before I dive into these points. I'm not going into this trying to attack LechGang or say they are inherently wrong, I just want to provide my opinion on this matter. Anyhow, point 1, Loser deteriorates the other characters around them. LechGang points out in their video how every character around Loser reduces to just another Loser fan, and honestly, I half agree with this take. Really few episodes of BFB pre-split, the losers are heavily centered around, well, Loser. Most of the other losers just follow whatever plan Loser comes up with. That is, of course, until his untimely elimination in episode 7. And now for the other half of my agreement. I think it was perfectly fine for it to be so loser-centric in the early episodes. The reason I think this is because 1, I feel like they were setting up Loser as this perfect character who could do no wrong in the early episodes and needed people to be a fan of his for that to work. And 2, I don't think that was ever going to stay the case. In episode 6, we see Pin and Coiny develop on their own without Loser, and in episode 7, we see people turn their back on Loser. Also, just a little side note, I'm pretty sure this is where they were always going to take Loser. I think they just had to speed it up due to his elimination. Another reason I think this is due to how they handled him in post-split. I don't think the Loser way or the Highway was ever going to last, but he just didn't have enough time for his popularity to stew and simmer till it eventually boiled over. I think we could see this more clearly in post-split where Loser still has fans like Fiery but also defectors like Taco, and not even Fiery always inherently trusted Loser anymore. And due to this, we could see Loser themselves develop into a more full, well-rounded character by showing us how he worries about his fans not believing in him, which shows cracks in his perfect facade. Now on to point 2, the writers tell us how we should feel about Loser. This point I don't quite agree with. My personal opinion is that the writers are telling us how other characters feel about Loser, being a perfect celebrity that everyone loves, but I never felt like that transferred over to the audience. While watching, I never felt like I was forced to like Loser as all the other contestants, nor was I forced to feel bad when Loser was eliminated in episode 7. LechGang also mentions how everyone devolves into a mindless killer after Loser is eliminated, but that was kind of set up in Pin and Coiny's talk the episode prior, but it really only lasted to set up the challenge for the episode. One last reason I think Loser isn't the worst character in BFDI is due to their relationship with
Winner joins the game! And here's your purple tomato.
Thanks. Tasty.
Winner, the second half of the famous dynamic duo Loser Cake. They're both pretty different from each other and went down separate paths for some time, but one thing they share are videos about them being the absolute worst. Winner is the next character we're going to analyze and is also another character with a video about them already out from Amon88. So just like Loser, I'll go over the points Amon made in their video and we'll see if they hold any water. 3 main points Amon made were that 1, Winner has no personality, 2, Winner wastes their screen time, and 3, their backstory is not an excuse for a lack of character. Now there's one big issue looming over these 3 points, and that is the idea that Winner has no personality. Because Winner has no personality, Winner is boring, and because Winner is boring, Winner wastes screen time for other more interesting characters with better personalities, and because Winner has no personality, their backstory with Loser falls flat. So if we could figure out what Winner's personality is, or lack thereof, we can figure out the root issue of this hatred of Winner. Now in Amon's video, they kinda already point out what Winner's main character traits are, which is being a nice and calm presence next to all the other wacky characters in the game. It's also shown multiple times throughout the show that they get quite easily annoyed, as shown with Clock, Yellowface, and just recently Fiery Jr. Amon also states in their video that these personality traits just aren't enough to create a good and engaging character, and with that I'd have to disagree. And to explain to you why I disagree, we have to go back to the previous video we talked about. In LechGang's video, they described how most characters can be put in one of two categories. One category is action-based characters who have more plot relevance, and the other category is vibes-based characters who just have more interesting personalities. And now I'm gonna steal this idea to more easily explain my view. Winner is most definitely a vibes-based character. They don't have much stake in the main plot of TPOT, but the moments they have on the show endear you to the character, and I think Winner does this perfectly. Every time I see Winner, I enjoy whatever they do. I think their dynamic with characters like Yellowface and Clock expands and develops their personality. And I think they handled Winner's backstory well. Winner valuing friendship more over fame while not being able to reach out to Loser, and Loser losing sight of what's truly important and becoming blinded by fame. This is why, while Winner might not have as much plot relevance as others, or might not have as dynamic of a personality as others, I don't think they are the worst BFDI character. Done and dusted. I've finally gone through 4 of the most hated characters, and now I can definitively say who the worst character is. Wait, no, I can't. I just defended all of them. So if it's not Eggy, Foldy, Loser, or Winner, then who is? Now, I made a point in defending all of the previous characters I talked about because I personally think that the worst character is non-existy. Huh? Wait, no. I'll tell you about because I really think the worst character is, oh, it's non-existent. I think there is no definitive worst character in BFDI, and I don't think there is a way to find one specific character. Ultimately, everyone's going to have different opinions from one another. The OCS community is quite large after all. Case in point, my least favorite character in the show is Bommy, but even I know he has his staunch defenders. And I also know that Bommy does have good parts about him. Every character in the show has at least one trait about them that makes them unique, which in turn makes them have their own fans and haters. The premise of trying to find the worst character is inherently flawed because there is none. Wait, huh? Wait a minute. What is this?
So the true worst character is actually price tag because I don't really like her face. I don't think it's cool or funny.
Oh wait, never mind. Nah, well, this guy's right. Scrap everything I just said. Daggy sucks. Daggy's officially the worst BFDI character. I know I wasn't able to do a full analysis on the characters I brought up in this video, so if you have anything you would like to add, maybe something I missed about one of the characters I brought up, either defending them or otherwise, or why you think another character I didn't bring up is actually the worst character, please let me know in the comments. Also, if you liked the video, please like and subscribe. This is my first time ever scripting and fully editing a video, and I put a lot of effort into it.